Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with a couple of cards using the new Lovely Layers Hydrangea wafer die set from Honeybee Stamps. Obsessed is all I can say. So first, I started off by die cutting all of the wafer dies from some Canson XL watercolor paper. And I also die cut some extra individual flowers. The die set itself has 4 layers and then 2 individual flowers and a leaf. And I cut the leaf multiple times as well. And this comes together like a dream, honestly. I was hesitant at first because I was like, I don't want to have to think too much. But it just fits together, like no thought process at all. I was just die cutting it and I was like, let's see how well I can do this. They stacked together. I was like, oh, perfect. So I'm using Distress Oxide sprays to color them. I shook the daylights out of them. They need to be shaken side to side. But if you're in a hurry or just impatient like I am, I wrap a little of my, go-to cloth or paper towel over the nozzle and you can shake it really, really well. You want to cover the nozzle. You can see it there for a second in the video because the liquid can sometimes come out, and I have had that happen. So either shake them side to side like a bell or cover the nozzle really well and then just shake really good. So I did that, and then I applied the colors I wanted to use just to a little palette. You can just spray backgrounds and then die cut them if you want. I didn't want to do that this time because I wanted a bit more control. Not a lot of control because I'm kind of letting them do their own thing, but a bit of control. So I applied the Oxide spray to my palette. I wet all the areas, so I'm starting with the leaves first. I wet them with just clean water. And then I'm just picking up the colors with a brush and just tapping the brush onto the leaves. No rocket science, no difficulty, super easy. And the 3 colors I used were Twisted Citron, Mowed Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness, which are just perfect. Like, I love all 3 of those greens for their own unique wonderfulness. Using them on like greenery, leaves, etc. Rustic Wilderness gives it the depth. Twisted Citron is like the bright, shiny color. Mowed Lawn is just the perfect, like, green. Anyway, I could wax poetic about all the shades of green and why I love them. But anyway, so I did all the leaves, set them aside to dry. I'm going to do the same process for all these layers. And it's going to look like a hot mess. But it all comes together. And also, these are florals. So you can do whatever you want. Because you can go, more realistic. Or you can just do whatever. Whatever floats your boat. It's art. You can just use whatever colors or lack of color. It doesn't matter. And the thing with hydrangeas is there are so many colors of them. And they have so many, like, multicolored ones. This is why I didn't want to spray first. I wanted that tiny bit of control because I wanted to give them those green centers that you see when they're starting to bloom. I don't know what it is about that, but I love hydrangeas so much. I planted some last year. I don't think they survived our horrible, horrible winters in Saskatchewan. They were supposed to, because we're getting hybridized ones now, because normally hydrangeas never could survive the climate up here. But yeah, I still might get more and try to keep them alive because I love them. They're beautiful. I love hydrangeas. Seriously. Anyway, for this first set, I used the Twisted Citron in the centers, which I love. Salvaged Patina, which I've been raving about this recently on my channel. Best color ever. Salvaged Patina. And then I did a mix of Wilted Violet and Blueprint Sketch to give them those bluey purple hydrangeas, love. And like they look like a hot mess. It's actually easy to see where each flower is, but don't forget, like, these are going to layer, so a lot of the bottom layers are going to be covered. You'll only see the very edges. So a lot of it you could just spray these. Like, skip the whole paintbrush, what I'm doing. Just spray them if you wanted. But I was having fun playing around and just seeing how these colors moved. The thing is, too, is like I'm just dropping the color. I'm just tapping my brush. I'm picking up color and then just tapping it. And I got everything wet again with water. So this watercolor paper is wet before I bring in the colors. And because these are distress products, like Distress Oxide sprays, they are reactive with water. So they just move. And that's exactly what I wanted. So I have control, and yet they still can, like, move and do their thing. But I'm also not really mixing the colors because I'm using like greens and purples. Those can very easily make mud. And you don't want like grayish, brownish, sludgy colors on florals. Or maybe you do. It just depends on, again, what you're going for. So I did the big main layers. And the individual flowers, I took a little more care with these. Because these are going to go on the very top as well as on the inside of my card. And these also have, and some of the layers have it too, the veining. You can't really see it in the video. I'm going to do a close-up of the next set. But the leaves and some of the flowers have that little like veining detail that gets embossed into them when you die cut. And I especially love that because die cutting it from watercolor paper, you still get the veining. But when I'm adding like the water and the sprays and everything, they kind of seep into those little veins and it just gives it extra. And I love it. These were just fun. Like, honestly, it was just fun. So I did the exact same colors, of course, on the individual ones. Just working a little more to not make them quite so just splotchy messy, but at the same time, letting the colors just do their thing. So I did the Twisted Citron and then Salvaged Patina and then dabs of the little Wilted Violet and Blueprint Sketch. Once I was happy with them, same thing. Set those aside to dry. And then I did a whole second set because, of course, and because just like in real life, I can never decide like what colors to go with when it comes to like plants and those sorts of things, even though I genuinely struggle trying to keep plants alive. But I'm in a greenhouse or anything like that, I'm just like, I never know what, it's like, I want one of each, please. I need like a yard 50 times the size that I have. Anyway, with this set, I started again with the Twisted Citron because I wanted those little, green centers. Salvaged Patina again because Salvaged Patina is life. It just works with everything. And then I'm going to add Picked Raspberry. And again, this is going to look like a hot mess because these are the like random layers. You see some of the outer layers like as this builds up. But yeah, I'm not too concerned that these need to be perfect. The parts of the die cuts that I can see that have the veining, I know those are going to be the ones that show up even with all through the layers. So those areas I was a little more careful, not to let things just completely go all over the place. So I added Picked Raspberry and then I go back in and I actually add a little bit of the Wilted Violet as well because the purple was too perfect not to add. But same process. I wet everything with clean water, just sprayed it down, wiped it with a clean paintbrush, and then drop in those colors so they just move. And I love, and I'll actually see in a second here just how much these can move because I'm going to do 2 quick little mini backgrounds, which I will get to. So I did those base layers, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the individual flowers. So they were die cut, sprayed them with water, paint on the colors. And yeah, like I said, you could die cut these from just white cardstock, because white hydrangeas, beautiful, and then do a multicolor background. That would look beautiful. Or just die cut them from color cardstock. Skip all of the color smooching or whatever. Or spray some splattery fun backgrounds and then die cut them, put them together. You're good to go. You could also do this with inks versus sprays. You use distress inks, distress oxide inks, watercolors, anything water reactive. That would work too. Sky's the limit, you guys. Sky's the limit. I'm just like getting ahead of myself with like 50,000 ideas. So anywho, did these flowers. And then I grabbed a scrap left over from die cutting everything. This, I am just applying squeezed lemonade and then a bit of the Twisted Citron Oxide sprays too. This is, I'm going to die cut there's a little wafer die in the set that cuts the flower centers, and it's small. So it was easier to just do a larger piece, and then I'll die cut it a couple times with the wafer die. You can kind of see them off there to the side, all those little kind of circle-y pieces. Those were the flower centers, because I was not going to fiddle with, a bunch of individual die cuts to color. It was like, that was easier to just do a little mini background. And I'm going to do another mini background in a second. But this is how easy these layers come together. They just fit. This was designed so well. You just line them up. That's it. Simple. I just put dabs of liquid glue behind each of the flower centers. That's all you need for adhesive, because you're just adhering paper. And then you just go from basically the largest layer to the smallest, and that's it. It was so simple. So I put my final just individual flower there, And then I'm just going to adhere little flower centers, and the cluster's done. Like, it's so simple. It's so simple. I love it. So I adhered the little flower centers, and then I'm going to repeat the process with the pink set, doing the exact same thing. So dabs of liquid glue right behind each of the flower centers, and just stacking from largest to smallest. And they just fit in. Like, you don't even have to think. They just work. So once I've got those adhered, I'm going to adhere the last little individual flower to this cluster. And then I'll also adhere the flower centers to the individual flowers that I'm going to use as well. So once those were all adhered, I started thinking about my sentiments. And I'm going to use the Bitty Buzzwords wafer dies, another favorite. And I die cut the word friend from black cardstock that I'm going to stack together. But the outline, I decided I wanted it to kind of match the flowers. So I took this larger scrap of the watercolor paper, and I'm just kind of directly applying the sprays from the nozzle to these. And you can just see how they move, because I got it wet with just clean water first. And I'm just dropping in these colors in the same scheme as each one. So the top one is to go with the pink flowers. The bottom one will go with the purpley blue flowers. I added a little tiny bit of the Twisted Citron, just tiny bit, because again, you don't want to mess with it too much. I let it completely dry, and then I die cut each part with that outline for the friend wafer die. And then the actual word, I had stacked together 3 layers with the liquid glue, just to give it that dimension that I love with sentiments, of course. And then I find it easier, and I don't know why I didn't figure this out sooner. I've been messing around with this for years. But for the dots for the eye, it's easier to just adhere them one at a time to the outline. I don't know. So much easier with little tiny pieces. So I did that twice. And then for my card front, I'm using just the Quilted A2 cover plate wafer die. This came out a while ago from Honeybee, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So I die cut that from white cardstock. And then I trimmed it down a little bit because I wanted it slightly smaller than my card base. And then I figured out how I wanted to adhere my little leaves and hydrangea cluster. And then once I was kind of happy with that, I'm just going to adhere the leaves first. Again, liquid adhesive. Stick that into place. And then I will put the adhesive on the back of the flowers. And then I just put a bunch of acrylic blocks like sitting on top of it just to hold it down, to let the glue really dry over all the dimension of the leaves. And then I adhered the sentiment. And then off camera, I heat embossed the word hello from the companion Bitty Buzzwords stamp set. So I just white heat embossed it onto black cardstock, trimmed it down, adhered it to the card. And then the inside of the card, I'm going to use more sentiments from the Bitty Buzzword set, because like all Honeybee fabulous sentiment sets, ton of words and buildable phrases and all that stuff. So I stamped the word hugs using Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide ink. Stamped that onto the inside of the cards. And then I stamped the word sending you with some black, like VersaFine Nocturne ink. And then I have a remaining leaf and then some of the individual little flowers. So I adhered those. And then I just made sure to adhere the proper card front to the card base. So, you know, it's matchy-matchy from the inside to the outside. So I just applied liquid glue to the card base, or the card front, adhered it to the card base. And that finished off these cards. I didn't add any bling, I know, or any extra splatter. I really wanted these flowers and the dimension and just those colors to just jump, you know? So I didn't want to distract. And honestly, these were so fun to make. So today's video is actually part of a video hop. I will have the information in the next stop on this video hop in the description box below the video, so you can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all the good things. All the supplies used, info, etc. will be in the description box below, and I will hopefully see you guys very soon in another video. Bye!